He scooped up his newborn son and sprinted towards the river, intending to toss him into the water because the child was so ugly that he didn't even resemble a human being. But before he could do so, a patrolling police officer spotted him.
Hey, what are you doing there? What do you have there?
After a frantic chase, he managed to shake off the officer and arrived at the doorstep of a nursing home. Eventually, he placed the baby on the steps, stuffed some money into the child's blanket, and left. Fortunately, God had mercy on this child. He was quickly discovered by the Queenies, a couple who worked at the nursing home. The moment they lifted the blanket and saw the baby inside, both of them were stunned because the infant looked so unusual. The husband suggested calling the police to handle the situation, but kind-hearted Mrs. Queenie disagreed. She carried the baby into their room and summoned a doctor to examine him. Even the doctor was shocked after the examination. The child was indeed a newborn, but he suffered from severe cataracts, arthritis, and other ailments typically associated with the elderly. He seemed like he was on his deathbed. The doctor said the baby wouldn't live long and advised Mrs. Queenie to send him away as soon as possible. However, Mrs. Queenie refused.
No, this baby here is a miracle, that's for certain.
Later, Mrs. Queenie introduced the child to the elderly residents and named him Benjamin. She told them about his poor health and asked everyone to take good care of him. After hearing this, one elderly woman volunteered, claiming to have raised 10 children and to be very experienced in childcare. But when she came to see the baby, she was taken aback.
Oh, God in heaven, he looks just like my ex-husband.
And so, Mrs. Queenie officially adopted Benjamin. From that moment on, an extraordinary life story began to unfold, just as Mrs. Queenie had wished. Miracles did happen to Benjamin. He survived and grew into the old man he appeared to be, wearing reading glasses and sitting in a wheelchair. He blended in perfectly at the nursing home. People pitied him for growing old before experiencing his youth. Although he looked like an old man, his mind was that of a child. Like other children, he was mischievous and curious about the outside world. He wondered what other kids were playing and what the next street looked like. He wanted to go out and see the world beyond the door, but Mrs. Queenie always pulled him back.
Benjamin, that is dangerous. Now come back over here. Stay put, child.
Apart from his curiosity about the outside world, Benjamin was also curious about himself. He would often ask Mrs. Queenie questions like why he was different from others and how long he would live. Mrs. Queenie answered him saying,
Just be thankful for what you're given here. You're already here longer than you're supposed to.